Okay, I know you're excited for more practice with foreign exchange FRQs. These are two newer questions from the 2014 and 2015 exams. So, it's very common for there to be questions about international trade that are in the short free response questions as well as in the long ones. And I think by doing these, you'll be prepared to do either. So this one I really enjoy doing because it gives us a couple of things about shifters of foreign exchange, including how price level dictates that, and then also this concept of the balance of payments. Remember our favorite ice rink magnate, Sam Boney from the United States, going to Chile to build some ice rinks for your balance of payments review. Okay, so you got the United States and South Korea are trading partners, and the U.S. has a zero current account balance. So one of the things that this can remind you is, what is the current account? The current account is the movement of goods and services in exchange for cash across international boundaries. And so basically the money that's coming in and going out of the United States is equal right now. Assume that the inflation rate in the United States decreases relative to the inflation rate in South Korea. So why is this relevant? It has to do with things being less or more expensive for a trading partner. So if the United States has a price level that is lower relative to South Korea, then exports to South Korea will increase. And the reason why they will increase is because from a South Korean perspective, all the goods that they're purchasing that are American, when they go to a shop, when they go to a store, when they go online to buy anything, the prices of those goods will be lower. And the law of demand says that as the price of a good declines, the quantity demanded of that good will increase. So we would say that the exports to South Korea would increase because they're cheaper. And this will then bring us to the second part of the question. Based on the change in the United States exports in Part A, answer each of the following. Will the United States current account balance remain at zero, be in surplus, or deficit? Well, chances are it's probably not going to remain at zero if there's any sort of shift in the price level of a country. So again, we're going to be exporting more to South Korea, which means more money will be coming in. So that means that the current account will then be in a surplus. What will happen to the real gross domestic product in the United States in the short run? Explain. Well, in the short run, again, whenever you're thinking about this, we have our C plus IG plus G plus XN. So let's focus on XN since we're talking about trade. If, in fact, things in the United States are less expensive and we're going to be exporting more, our exports are going to increase. Also, all the goods that are coming to us, particularly from South Korea, let me give you a great example, and it's a personal example. I drive a Hyundai, and a Hyundai is a South Korean car. So Hyundais are going to be more expensive based upon this scenario. So if somebody's in the market for a car and they're looking at a Toyota, they're looking at a Ford, they're looking at a Hyundai, the South Korean car is going to be more expensive. So fewer people are going to buy that South Korean good. It's not like Americans are just sitting around being like, oh, have you heard about prices in South Korea? They're so expensive. No, we demand a country's currency based on the goods that we're buying. So if people aren't going to buy Hyundais as much, then fewer of them are going to be imported into the United States. So this real GDP is going to increase because, remember, exports minus your imports equals XN. So the real gross domestic product is going to increase because now we're going to have a greater level of exports coming into the country and fewer imports. Lastly, it says the South Korean currency is the won. Draw a correctly labeled graph of the foreign exchange market for the US dollar. Show the effect of the lower inflation rate in the United States on the won price per US dollar. So practice drawing your graphs. The biggest rule of thumb that I can ever give you guys about these graphs is that what goes over here on the left, on the y-axis. So we've got the quantity of the US dollar. We know the symbol for the US dollar, so let's just use it. If we didn't, we could have just written something like US dollar. So we've got our first quantity here. I like using equilibrium as my label, so I'll do the same thing over here with exchange rate. We're going to have the won in the numerator and the US dollar in the denominator. And we always have in the denominator the denomination of the currency that we're currently using. So again, lower inflation rate. Things are less expensive from the United States, therefore people are going to be buying U.S. goods. South Koreans are going to go to the market and they're going to buy U.S. brands. They're going to buy Nike products. They're going to go to stores like The Gap and Walmart, and yes, those are even in South Korea. They're going to buy maybe U.S. music. You know, they're going to buy the latest album that's come out from a U.S. artist, or they're going to buy maybe a New York Yankees sweatshirt or something like that, okay? So in order to buy those things, somebody had to have imported them into South Korea. And then whoever sold them from the United States is going to then turn that South Korean won into dollars, because they're an American, they live here, and they want to go to Chili's with the family, and they're going to need dollars when they go there. So the demand for U.S. currency is going to shift to the right, because there's going to be an increased demand for U.S. currency. And this kind of shows how like inflation rates are so fluid and they change every day and every minute, because now the United States dollar is going to be worth more. And earlier in the question, it was worth less. We said it depreciated. So currency is an interesting topic because it's constantly changing. And right now you could open up your phone or your computer and you could just look at what the value of the dollar is to the won. And then, you know, a week from now, you could look it up again and it might be different, because these fluctuations can happen on a day-to-day or even an hourly basis. Hope that was helpful. There's more to come.